So, everybody, welcome back to Mental Edge Office Hours. Today's topic, raising standards. It's a piece I love. It's talking about developing resilient, coachable, relentless athletes. Where that really comes in, it's not just the big moments, right? It's the daily wins, it's your habits, it's your responding to adversity. So, raising standards is how we take bad athletes to better and better to good and good to elite. And today we are going to have some fun. All right, training the mental side of performance. That answers the question, what do we do at the AEA Institute? We believe mental fitness is trainable because it is, just like training in the weight room, preparing for your nutrition. We focus here on training the mental side of things. So if we know it's trainable and when it's built on neuroscience and psychology, we know we can get people better, and that's why we're here. Who do we have today, though? Brad Davison, high level competitive playing background, current collegiate coaching experience, trusted locker room leadership voice, navigated adversity as an athlete and coach, applies mindset tools in daily coaching. So here's where I have to input a little bit of information I got. I know that he was given D1 football offers, but didn't play football. I know he was told, hey, he's to this, to that, not going to play basketball at a high level, and he played in the Big Ten at Wisconsin. I know he was told he wasn't going to go much beyond that, but they ended up playing in the pros. And then he did the big move. He married another athlete, all-time Big Ten scoring leader at IU, and so now he's married, and so now they're just raising a whole bunch of little basketball players. So we have Brad Davison here today. Man, thanks for being here.
Appreciate you having me. Looking forward to it.
All right. What are mental office hours? All right. So this is week 3. First week was last. Well, this is episode 3. Last week we had 2 episodes, and what we do is 30-minute live sessions 2 nights a week, 8 o'clock Eastern for 30 minutes. The first topic was the 8 great traits of a teammate. The second one was growth mindset. Today it's obviously raising the standard, raising the bar, and we bring in athletes, coaches, sports psychologists. Uh, we have Navy SEALs lined up. So we're lucky and blessed to work with high level people, and we bring them in for their expertise. And that's why we have Brad here. So here we go.
You
What
got it.
is
Well,
growth mindset?
you got it, guys. So nice to be here with you and dive in for this 30 minutes. And I know you talked about last week a little bit about growth mindset. And to me, first of all, growth mindset is just the desire and the belief that you can get better, that where you are right now isn't concrete. It's actually the bottom floor of the player you can be and the person you can be, no matter in what field or competition you're in. And so it's the belief that your skills can improve and that your effort is a weapon. And now, as a college basketball coach, I realize effort is truly a skill.
Mm,
Attitude, effort, toughness, those are all things and skills that can be trained. And when you
agreed.
train your mind and you have the desire to improve and have this growth mindset, that means the mistakes you make, you can be used as information. The losses that you inevitably are going to take, those are lessons. And the feedback that you get, whether it's positive or negative, it all fuels progress, getting you to become the person and player that you're called to be. And the adversity that you feel and sometimes you go through, that actually accelerates the development to get to where you need to be. So all those highs and lows are ultimately just building blocks to get you to where you need to be. And to me, that's what growth mindset is.
Typically, I 100% agree. When you talk about effort is trainable, man, there's so many examples of how where the one person just hung on a little bit longer and didn't quit. And there's plenty of studies how you can train your nervous system to adapt to longer levels of discomfort or just maybe hanging on for an extra 30 seconds. So that whole thing about improving your effort over time and what that correlates to, it then becomes, like you said, not just on the court or in the sporting arena. It's just a way of life. I'm just going to stick with this problem a little bit longer. All right. Embraces challenges.
Embraces challenges. Again, gets to that question. Do you truly desire to get better? Everyone wants to win a game, Of course, when the ball is tipped and the clock running, everybody wants to win a game. But do they really want to get better in terms of the player and person that they are now, knowing who they can be? And so embracing challenges. If you have the goal in mind of becoming the best version of yourself, that means you're going to seek out difficult situations. You're going to try to force yourself to be uncomfortable because it's in those hard times that ultimately we get pressed and we get shaped into who we're meant to be. And I think a lot of this comes from not only being aware of our weaknesses and going through hard times, but also being really confident in our strengths and in our skills and what we can bring to the table right now. And I think confidence a lot of time comes from our preparation, whether it's mental preparation, physical preparation, because there's going to be times that come that is going to be high pressure situations. And when we can embrace that challenge of pressure that comes with high expectations, well, then that pressure turns into opportunity. And so welcome pressure, be confident in your strengths. That's all part of embracing the challenges that come with the desire to get better.
How about this? I wrote down some questions to go along with the slides. I'm sure everyone at some point you come across someone who's willing to avoid hard situations and someone who's more willing to dive into those situations. You ever come across that yourself? Like, hey, there was a period or a season of my life in my career or in the season where, I wasn't maybe putting out as much or I had a lull and I turned it around and I started to, look for the harder things to do. So that was one of my first questions.
Yeah, I'll go back to my freshman year at Wisconsin when I first had the opportunity to play at the high level, which was like my dream. I finally got my shot. And then the third game of the year, I actually fully dislocated my shoulder. So
Mm,
my labrum, my bicep tendon, everything that was in my shoulder was pretty much messed up. And it was in that moment where I had to make the decision on A, do I want to medically redshirt and shut it down? Or B, do I want to keep playing because it was my left shoulder and I could still shoot with my right shoulder. I just had to wear a brace. All the things that were going to come along, all the challenges and the hard stuff that were going to come along with continuing to compete and to continue to play. I had to decide on if it was worth it or not. And for me, I made the decision to keep playing.
mm,
And the reason why was because I had this desire to compete. And if I was able to compete, even if I was maybe not 100%, still the opportunity meant the world to me. And I
dang.
viewed that situation or that hard time or that discomfort or weakness as an opportunity not only to prove to myself that I could play at that level, but to prove to my teammates and coaches and other people in the program. And by doing that, it actually proved a lot more to a lot more people countrywide across the sport. And so that's one area of my life where it would have been really easy for me to shut it down because of the hard that I would have to go through, because of the discomfort or the
Mm.
pain or the weakness. Um, but that was an opportunity for me to look it in the face and to go through it, and was not only a better player on the other side, but a better person and a better competitor and better leader because of going through those hard, uncomfortable times.
That's an outstanding story. And it's hard to say because, you have to weigh the red shirt, you got to weigh the playing time, maybe someone behind you. There's all these cross currents. You have to make this decision and to keep going. That does that'll last, that'll linger with you years down the road as a reference point. I find in addition to something like hard, like there was trauma, there's an event that you have to diagnose and decide. I find another challenge that's really hard for folks, and me included, are two things. One, can you put up with the discomfort of doing the boring things? Like it's boring to meal prep your food. It's boring to make sure you're in bed on time. It's boring to do those things, right? And if you do it day in and day out, that's a challenge that you don't see on the court and it's unsung. But if you can do some of the fundamentals and the boring things consistently, that's a leg up. Also, if you can avoid distractions a little bit longer, whether it's your homework or you're studying film. If you go into study film, then you lock everything else down, you put headphones on, and you just lock into the screen and you don't have your phone going at the same time. I think, in addition to having major challenges, the day-to-day little things on doing the fundamentals and avoiding distractions, pays big, big dividends. All right, responding to failure.
Again, responding to failure. And again, it goes back to that question, do you really desire to get better? Because if you want to get better, that changes your whole perspective on what failure is or what losses are or what mistakes are. Because if you really want to get better, then you're going to be very fast to own your mistakes. Quickly, you're going to own them because you want to learn from them and get better. You're going to avoid excuses. You're going to avoid blame because you're going to look in the mirror as soon as you possibly can because, again, you want to get better. And when you have a setback or you come up short, those are opportunities to remind yourself to refocus on who
Mm,
you are and who you want to become. And I think the best part about this is it doesn't mean you need to reflect after a season or after a month or after a game. Again, when you desire to get better, like we talked about in terms of daily or even in between plays, in between shots, you can learn and you can correct your mistakes throughout the course of a game. That again, that's growth mindset. It's not from year to year you're getting better. No, it's from play to play. It's from rep to rep. It's from drill to drill. And what happens when you continue to fail and you respond from failure and grow, this allows you to move forward with supreme confidence because you know that failure does not define you. Failure is just part of your story, part of your building blocks to get to you to the person and player that you're meant to be. So again, it comes down to this desire to get better. And when you want to get better, you're going to look in the mirror and it changes your whole perspective on failure.
agreed. The failure is just a label, and it really should just be changed to data. We're bringing in new data on what I just learned just now, whether the ball went in, the ball went out, or how you respond to certain foods, or how you respond to certain coaching. So it's just data. And once you get more and more in your inventory, then you can learn and adapt faster and apply that data so you can evolve. So that's really what it is. And I like what you said about the speed. If it takes you a long time to get over learning new data or learning or seeing that you perceptually failed, then that feedback loop is much slower, than you don't evolve as quickly. So I like how you mentioned the speed component, because the sooner you get through it, the sooner you're better, which is the whole reason we're here. We're trying to make the best version of ourselves.
Yeah, we have a saying in our program at the University of Wisconsin that the game of basketball is a game of mistakes. But the team that wins isn't the team that makes the least amount of mistakes. It's the team that corrects their mistakes and moves forward the quickest that wins the game. So that's
Yes,
something that we talk about all the time.
love it. Coaching on being coachable under pressure. So just some tips. You listen without being defensive. You apply corrections immediately, just like Brad just said. You also got to trust the coaching intent. It's so easy for me to say when I was 14 getting coached in basketball that, man, what's my coach know? He doesn't see this. He sees whatever I see and a lot more. I want to ask better questions. I want to ask questions daily so I can improve faster than my peers. So we're all evolving. Once I'm faster than my peers, those peers are going to chase after me. So, Brad, in your opinion, what does really being coachable look like in practice or during the games? What's that look like in real time at a high level, like you guys are performing at Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's a great question. And again, being coachable again is a skill. Because if you really desire to get better, that means you want to be coached and you actually want to be coached hard. Because the harder you're coached, the faster you'll improve, the quicker you'll get it. Um, and again, I think just the understanding that you're on the same team as your coach. We talk about trusting the coach's intent. A coach isn't coaching you because you're wrong. A coach is coaching you because he knows you can be better and he
Mm,
wants the best for you. Knowing your coach wants you to be your best is crucial because it builds that bridge, it builds that trust. And when you want to be coached and you have a relationship with your coach, that means you're eager for feedback. You know, you want to hear what he thinks. You want to know how you can get better because, again, that desire to get better is crucial. Again, we have another saying that when coach is coaching you hard, that means he believes in you. So never worry about when you're being coached hard, but when coach stops coaching you or
I'm
stops
terrified.
saying something to you, that's when you might want to look in the mirror and figure out what can I do to remind my coach and get belief in my coach that I do want to get better. How can I show that? So again, coachability is a skill. The intent of your coach is he wants to help you grow in everything that you do. And that's why he's coaching you hard.
Similar to your own parents or your boss at work, when they want for you, when they love you more, they're going to pour into you. So look at it like that. It's not that it's a big negative. It's a huge thing that they're pouring into you. All right, controls the response. This is
Yeah,
big.
controlling the response. Again, I'm going to keep going back to do you desire to get better? Because that changes the scope of everything that you do. I think when it comes to controlling your response, that's the challenge we have in sports is we do have a performance roller coaster that we can ride. We can get really high in good times and really low in bad times. But I think this another skill and the strength that we can all work on is not getting too high and not getting too low. Because the most steady players, the most consistent players, the most prepared players, the players that respond correctly and continue to move forward, they have an incredible advantage. And what that looks like is managing your emotions. It's not getting too high, not getting too low. It's staying present after mistakes. Again, so not getting too low, but actually taking the mistake as data points, as information, and moving forward and learning from that next rep. And again, not getting too low and talking negatively about yourself and becoming your own best defender, but staying positive and continuing with positive self-talk and quickly getting on to the next play. And all of this maintains your competitive poise and your composure in all that you do. So again, controlling your response is all about not getting too high and not getting too low because you can control your preparation. You can control your feet being ready to shoot. You can control how much backspin you put on the ball. You can control how you play defense the next possession. But you know what? You don't control the 2 seconds that that ball is in the air from your hand to the bottom of the net. Everything else you can control in terms of pre-shot and responsive shot. But man, in that moment, you got to let it go. You got to let it go. So again, it's just that ability not to get too high and not to get too low.
That old equation, that event plus reaction equals outcome. And Brad's just coaching us on how to react. I love Jocko Willink's approach to most things. A lot of things that are challenging, and his one word response is always good, no
Hmm.
matter what happens. Good. So now I have something else to look at, or another angle, or another task to do. Right. So his default is the word get it good. So I love that approach. Stacking daily growth wins. This speaks to me big time.
No doubt. Like we talked about winning every day. I always, one of the things I truly believe in is you got to win your morning to win the day. So I have a routine of 5 things I do every morning on a checklist that I need to make sure I do every morning so that I can win the morning, start my day with that growth mindset. And now that I've won the morning, I can go win the day. And again, it shows up being prepared daily, winning with small habits, trains when unrecognized. Again, if you want to get better daily, I think a great question to ask yourself every morning is, do you desire to get better? Do you really desire to get better physically, mentally, spiritually? Because if you do, you're going to do more than is required. You're not just going to go to practice, you're not just going to go to school, but you're going to fill in your time with what's most important to you and what you prioritize. And if you want to get better, if you truly have that growth mindset and desire to do it, you're going to fall in love with the process of becoming better. You're going to trust your work. You're going to put in more work and you're going to reap what you sow. Again, this consistency of winning every morning, winning every day, stacking good habits, continuing to have that belief and desire in yourself that you want to improve over time. It's like say the word compound, multiplied, exponential growth. The
Right.
sky's the limit on who you can become, the player you can become, and the person you can become if you make the decision to win each and every day.
That's it right there. That Kaizen approach of constant small little growth wins. If you go through Clear's Atomic Habits, he talks about that all the time. So outstanding book where you can just stack those all the time because we're talking today about raising your standard. And if your standard is just doing two things in the morning, great. If you can move that to three, that's a raise. First thing I like to do, this sounds corny, I make sure I make the bed. So I get up and I start the day with a solid habit. So when I go to bed at night, it's more enjoyable when I come into the room. The room's picked up. So just having a small level of discipline there translates over to the other parts of the house, to my car, to my approach to getting better. So absolutely believe in that approach. All right, the growth mindset mirror. How do I handle mistakes, seek feedback, compete with uncomfortable? So the ego's on display here with how quickly do I adjust and am I improving? So, Brad, why is honest self-reflection hard? Why is it hard for folks? And then how do they handle that?
Yeah. It's hard because it forces you to be a little vulnerable. It forces you
Mm.
to not just look in the mirror, but really scrub it and really check yourself out. And again, if you desire to get better, you have to do it. And you want to do it because you know that reflection and feedback for yourself is how you become the best version of who you are. Our main opponent in everything that we do is ourself. Not in the manner of holding us back, but the opponent is our goal is to be a better version of ourselves than we were the day before. Simple
I
as
love
that.
that.
And if we can have that mindset and approach, not only are we going to look in the mirror and reflect and ask hard questions, but we're also going to challenge ourselves and put us in some hard and uncomfortable situations because we know that that's where growth is found.
It's also a bit challenging simply just to ask that broad question. It could be a little overwhelming or unsure. So I like to narrow it down and sometimes. So how can I elevate elevate myself, or what mistakes am I looking for? Well, I could just ask, since we talk about mindset, where can I improve my mindset? Or maybe where can I improve my knowledge of the game of basketball? Or where can I communicate better as a teammate? Or maybe it's something physical, my training, my nutrition, or my recovery. Where's something that I can improve? And if the answer is I don't know, I'm sure you have a coach that you can work with. I'm sure Brad can point you in the right direction. If you're on Wisconsin's team, if it's a nutrition question, if it's a mindset question, maybe you're lonely from being homesick question, right? That happens all the time too. So all those things build into your overall performance. And if you can get your team working together, you have a much better shot. This week, as you know, this is always interactive. It's not just lecture. So we want to make sure that we give you some information so you can think about it, but you also have to do things. It's not matter what you know, it's matter what you do with what you know. So got to pick two things, either attack an uncomfortable drill, ask a coach for feedback, which I just alluded to, reframe one mistake publicly. That puts your ego on display. Using growth language or reflect after every practice. But there's a multiple options here, but powerful athletes actually commit to them. And once you get used to doing this consistently, it's not them that painful anymore. You're just simply looking for more data. So you got to pick two. Then you got to answer a question. Who are you becoming? So we're looking at your identity. Identify current mindset habits you have. Simply write them down. Name one growth area and commit to some daily improvement, like we talked about, that Kaizen principle. Define and your response to adversity. Write that down. When I see adversity, in training, on the game, personally, write it down and pre-decide how you would respond to that. Brad, why do you think athletes should focus on who they're becoming, not just achieving, not the tangible aspects of what they're doing, but who they are? Why do you think they should be focusing on that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a mindset out there that athletes should always chase success, but I always like to frame it as you should really be chasing significance. Because the goal, everyone's got the goal to win, and that's a great goal to have. But your overall goal should be to become the best version of yourself. And in my perspective, I believe that sports are a gift and an instrument and a tool to help guide us and shape us and mold us into becoming the best version of ourselves. Because again, when you achieve something, it's usually for you, but who you're becoming is actually it's your ability to impact the people around you. And winning games is great, but impacting people around you will always take the cake. And I think that's the biggest difference between being successful in sport, but also more importantly, being significant in sport.
Brad, I'm sure you've always heard it's not what the other person knew, but it's how they made you feel, right?
Hmm.
How they connected with you and that impact, because you're only here once. These relationships you only have once, and they're gifts, and some of them are end way too soon. So you're absolutely right. Whether you're making your impact as an accountant or in the football field or in a swimming pool where you're teaching folks, like you have these relationships with these other folks, with the other people in your life, and the impact is really the overall. theme of, becoming the best version of yourself so you can impact others. All right, growth, build championships, build elite performance first. Um, Brad, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for coming on and working
Appreciate
with
you guys
folks.
having me.
I'm glad we're going to have you again. I think we're having you on Thursday. So, um, more topics all the time. We're always going to be looking to get better. And Brad, we're lucky to have you. And for everybody else, man, thanks for being here. Make sure you're back here. It's the same login, 8 o'clock next in 2 days. If you have other athletes or teammates that aren't here, get them here. People in other sports, people in other places, get them here. It's about impact. And this is a short while where we have access to experts like Brad. So very lucky today. So everyone spread the word and be here next time.